Hello, everybody. Technical difficulties to start off the very first episode. Welcome, everyone, to My Hero Analysis Beyond, the MHA rewatch with myself, Tom, which I gave myself the hero name, Uatu, and Steph, my co-host.
Hi, guys. I would have gave myself a hero name, too, because Slag My Thrill is a pretty good one, so we'll go with that, too.
I think Slag My Thrill is a fantastic hero name. It's way better than Uatu.
I don't know about that.
Well, I mean, Slag My Thrill, it just sounds more heroic. It's like I imagine you're throwing like stalagmites at people. Like you're probably launching them out. You have them like all over. You know, you probably are shielded in stalagmites. It's cool.
Very cool.
So hello, everybody. We have a couple people already in the chat. We have Mason, Fire Scorpio, who did our fabulous intro that you saw at the very beginning. Thank you so much for that, Fire Scorpio. It's way more production value than anything else that you'll see in this show.
For today.
for today, yeah. Yeah, Uatu sounds like a Class D hero, my dude. That's all right. So does Deku. And you know what? He makes it work for him. And that's kind of part of the charm. So... so to kind of give you guys a little idea of the show and the structure behind it, we're going to be basically going through the episodes, episode by episode, and kind of like just a breakdown of them all and kind of talking about kind of how it all went down. Both Steph and I did our homework, and we have our notebooks handy of like all the notes we want to talk about, like all the moments, the special moments. Steph has Katsuki on the cover, which is perfect. Is he wearing like the little All Might PJs?
Yeah, is he cute?
That's amazing. Do we see in the first 3 episodes, do we see Deku wearing the All Might onesie? No. Okay.
Might be a little spoiler.
It's a little Easter eggy spoiler. That actually brings me to a good point. We're going to try our best not to give spoilers for things to come in the anime, and I am going to really keep my mouth zipped because I am current with the manga, and I'm going to try not to go anywhere near manga territory with this stuff, except for saying if it happened in like volume 1 of the manga or like the first, if it goes pair and date with what we're watching. So everything else, if you're a new watcher, this is great for you. If you're an old watcher and rewatching it with us, this should also be great for you. Hopefully at the end of the day, we just hope that it's great for you. So, Steph, you ready to get into it?
Yeah.
All right, cool. So we're going to start off with episode number 1, and I'm going to pass over. I keep passing it to the wrong screen.
That's okay.
I'm learning this system, guys. So give me a second. I have too many controls at my hands, and there we go.
There we go. So I'm hoping everyone got to enjoy the first 3 episodes because they're some of the best ones, because every great story needs a good origin story. So I'm pretty excited, even though Deku is my second favorite character in this entire series. It also gets to kind of show off my favorite character, which is Bakugo, which is supposed to be his childhood friend. But as we can see in this photo, he's not so friendly as a child with poor Deku, or Midoriya.
What we're seeing here is moments after Deku tries to save another schoolyard friend from the bully that is Katsuki, and we don't quite know what had happened. All we know, we open up on Deku here on the ground, Izuku Midoriya on the ground, standing his ground against his friend, who we learn is his friend as time goes on, trying to protect the kid that seems to be getting bullied by Katsuki and 2 of his closest friends that we see at the moment.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, funny enough, Richie in the comments, we both, Noserain and myself, both have this graphic as a T-shirt, and that's one of the reasons why I wanted to make sure that this was one of like the screenshots I pulled for this episode, because it is my favorite My Hero T-shirt that I own, and I didn't want to like put on my favorite shirt straight out of the gate. Plus, I also felt like a good thing for the first episode would be Plus Ultra. So, yeah. So, there we go. All right. Excuse my mouse. Oop.
Nope.
I'm skipping through stuff. There we go.
And so this one kind of gives you guys both a symbol of Bakugo and Midoriya back to back. And this I really like because Midoriya has still got his facial expression where he's not too sure if this is the path he needs to be on. He really wants it, but he's not really sure. And Bakugo's got the moody expression because he's very sure of his path, but he's still kind of out uneven about who's going to be there in his way. So
this scene also shows off. This is from the opening, and this also shows you the name of the musicians that perform the opening, which is Porno Graffiti, and the name of the song, which is The Day. And it's a great one to kind of start on because it has that kind of like heroic nature to it and kind of like uplifting, which a lot of the first season of My Hero is a lot of uplifting tones and narrative.
Yeah.
And go ahead, Steph.
I was gonna say it's very high paced too, so which is pretty good for an action anime.
Oh yeah, one of the great things. So when I was first watching this, one of the craziest things were if you try to like pay attention to everything that's kind of happening in the opening, they just throw all the characters at you within like you get not even I think a full second on each character. You're just like introduced to every character, and there's a lot of characters in this this anime because we're basically going to high school, and you have a full high school class. You have teachers, you have pro heroes, you have villains. So they try to throw a lot of that stuff at you within most anime openings are about 83 seconds long, 84 seconds long. So they try to throw like a lot of that at you. But one of the reasons why I really want to talk about the opening for this is because most animes, when they open, they tend to give you a little synopsis of the entire season of that anime. So the first time I was watching this, I was like, well, let me kind of see what this is going to be about, and let me see if I'm actually going to like it. So I tried to like decipher what the story was going to be based upon the opening. And let me tell you, my idea that Deku was somehow going to transform into All Might, like that's his alter ego, like he somehow like has the power to become this giant hulking person like Shazam, didn't quite turn out to be true. So, and that's that.
Good try.
Oh, thank you. I tried. I mean, the funny thing is a lot of animes do tend to spoil stuff. And I think one of the blessings of that specific opening, the first opening that we're given for My Hero, is that they don't. They're just like, we have a lot of characters to show you. Here's all the characters.
Yeah.
And you get a little bit of All Might, Deku, like play side by side, which is why I got that idea. But you don't quite understand why until we get through these 3 episodes.
Mm-hmm. And going on to the next one is the actual origin of quirks altogether. So I actually really like this, that it was a genetic thing along the sides of like X-Men and stuff. It's something people were born with. So they didn't get to like choose their quirk out of a magic hat like Harry Potter or something. So it was really nice to see. And it was nice to see the variety of quirks. So they were, and they weren't like, everybody had like either ice powers or they could fly, like this baby glows, or people had like moving smaller objects and like some stuff like that. It was really neat.
And that's kind of one of the cool things about this this world that we get treated to in My Hero is that the quirks might be small, but if you learn to use them and you train with them over time and you kind of stretch them, you can get a lot more out of those quirks than you would have ever thought possible. So like, who knows if this baby, if it was trained at UA, which is the high school that we will get to learn later on in the series, and we get to in this 3 episode stretch, who knows if this baby can transform this glowing ability into more like, I'm thinking Dazzler from the X-Men, where she could actually like shoot things off and stuff like that. So you never know with under the right tutelage where you can go.
Exactly. I think this is just the introduction of All Might and the #1 hero and kind of his background thing, and a little bit more into how the world works. And how most of these heroes all of a sudden became like rock stars or celebrities instead of just like kind of, I don't see Superman and Batman running around trying to pose for cameras or kiss babies and cut ribbons. They kind of just do their superhero stuff. So this world showcased a little bit more of like what it is to be an actual superhero with a glamorous power and trying to be that good in the world.
And it's also like how that profession, because like we get to learn that the hero stuff is like a government sponsored profession, how it like is so ingrained in the society of this world. And how that kind of, you have to play up the both, as you were saying, like, kissing babies and stuff like that, like play up the persona outward social media side of it, as well as it's performance based. So, the better performance you do, how fast you can kind of quell threats and like clean minimum property damage, you get paid more, you get taken care of better by the government and stuff like that. So it's more like this world, they tend to think out like a lot more of all the minutia of what superpowers in their modern society would actually do. And I also want to say like hi to a couple people that just joined up in the chat, and welcome Christy and James. We got a couple of people, Creation Odyssey and the Love Cat, and so we got a couple of people that we know from Instagram joining in, and thank you guys so much for joining in. And we hope that you enjoyed the 3 episodes. If it was your first time, third time, 18th time, who knows? Just hope you're loving it.
Yeah.
You can go ahead.
So I think this is just one of the captions, like in the show, they got some really great stills of the heroes that were coming out at this time. And this, I don't know how to pronounce his name very well. I just know he's made of wood and he like does like the tree branches and everything, which was really cool. And I actually love the look of it, like his helmet and stuff. And I love the way that a lot of the heroes aren't as pretty as like most people would think that a hero would look. They did a really good job of making him unique and cool, and like kind of with their powers, making it match pretty well.
And you were talking about, when we talked about this, because we hopped on chat earlier this week and we were talking about some of the heroes, and you were talking about the fire hydrant hero that we see as well during the same intro scene. This is from the very beginning of the anime, where we see Deku like witnessing a crime going down, and a bunch of heroes come in, and we see Kumai, I think it's Kumai Woods, who's this, which I think he's the lacquer-based hero, is like what they call him, but basically has tree powers. And we get to kind of see like a weird stretch of heroes. The very first hero actually we get introduced to, and I actually have this as a note somewhere here, is Death's Arms, who is just a strength-based hero, which is great. Later on in these 3 episodes, we get to see this strength-based hero go up against someone that All Might, who you would think is another strength-based hero, but his powers kind of transcend that. He has a much different effect on the hero. So it's kind of interesting to also see, like, even within the class structure of heroes, there's a wide array of differences.
Yeah. And they call him like the punching hero. They all have like weird nicknames. It's pretty cool too.
Yeah.
So.
Oh yeah, like I love. Yeah, they're all like, yeah, he's a punching hero. He's the lacquer hero. He's like, yeah, they all have really funny names. And James said MHA is definitely how X-Men deserves to be handled, and I could not agree more. It's like I think this is how X-Men would be handled if it were done modern day, like instead of it coming out in like the 60s or earlier. I can't remember the exact year X-Men was first created, but if it also didn't have to deal with the whole wide Marvel universe as well. The whole world can just react to just mutants, the way how the world just reacts to quirks in this.
Perfect. Oh my goodness. The kind of hidden veneer for the superheroes, and they have like this thing. You have poor lacquer hero in the background just defeated because Mount Lady took the spotlight and probably got a little extra cash for it too. But just
exactly.
That, perfection. Like she's like, yes, did it.
I think this is like her very first like big intro on the scene too, right?
Yeah.
So she wanted to make a big splashy appearance, and by putting to shame Kamai Woods, who was a big up and coming hero, it's kind of a great way to announce, hey, I'm here, and yeah, I'm now the new big like literal big hero on the scene.
Yeah. Oh, and then Deku writing it down to make sure he records every moment in hero history and how she's going to be popular.
I think both you and I joked a couple of times how while taking notes for the show, we felt like Deku doing his notes for heroes, because he, if nothing else, he is very studious with his note taking, and we will see that over the course of the series.
Yes.
Is that the first screenshot I have of Katsuki? I think so. Oh, no, wait. The opening. We had the opening.
Yeah. This is my favorite character. It's no surprise. So it's kind of my thing. when I first watched this show, I know he's not the nicest of people, and everybody can cry about that later. I really think that he's actually the most.
How very Bakugo of you to say, Steph. Let me
Yeah.
tell you.
Yeah, let's not worry about it. But I think that when you have like a best friend or a childhood person, usually they're a little more reserved, or they're kind of like very too cool for their own good. And I really believe that his character, he's just himself 110%. He doesn't care who he insults, he doesn't care who talks to him, and he's like got all the confidence in the world. And I really think that Midoriya like looks at that and wants that confidence. And so I think they make a good side-by-side comparison for the show.
Like really, that actually boils down their dynamic a lot. It's Midoriya looks up to Bakugo in such a strong way, and Bakugo has everything up until end of episode 3. Really, he has everything that Midoriya does not, and he dreams of having that kind of presence and power and confidence in himself, the way how Kazuki has him. And we have a couple of people in the chat. A lot of other Bakugo lovers like yourself, Steph. And Fire Scorpio, I gotta tell you, he says, I still kind of hate him. It took me a long time to come around to Bakugo myself because I love Midoriya. And for him to get picked on by this clearly school bully at this point in time, it hurt me to see my boy hurt.
It's funny because rewatching it, I can see stuff happening in the first few episodes that makes sense now, which I'm not going to spoil, but you'll learn to find him endearing later. Yes,
there are a lot of character progression. There's a thing in any show, movie, whatever you watch. And My Hero, I think, has it in spades. And I don't think a character encompasses that more than Bakugo himself. There's some moments in the very beginning part of season 4 that we get to see that a lot. And that's where I'll end that there. But it's really great. And Creation Odyssey is saying that exactly. He really grows throughout the series. He really does. Richie is saying he said the worst thing that first episode. I need to know what that worst thing is because he says a lot of terrible things. And I'm going to guess it's the thing that's going to come up soon. But please leave that in the chat too, because I'm interested to know what you think is the worst thing.
He does a lot of bad things, so we'll see what that is.
Yeah. But one is like real bad. Oh. And even I think Deku acknowledges how bad that was after he says it.
Oh, yeah. This moment makes me laugh because this is actually Bakugo finally. He's recognizing that he might have somebody who wants to challenge him. And he's like, wait, what? And it happens to be the one person that he does not find, like, he doesn't look at in the entire class. So I loved this image that you froze because this part made me laugh pretty hard because this is Midoriya basically announcing that he wants to go to hero school too, alongside the person who has everything, including a quirk. So. And
let's be clear, Midoriya did not even want to announce that he was going to try to enroll a UA. The teacher is who announced it, and that's why Deku's head is on the desk being like, why are you saying this? Do you not see the guy sitting directly in front of me who's like screaming? And I wish I got half a millisecond later than this because there's a moment where Deku, in the same position, looks up at Bakugo, and it's just a great look. It's just like you could see this utter like, please don't blow me up.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, he totally does blow up his desk, which I didn't get a screenshot of, but it's kind of also amazing. How much infrastructure that school must go through in the average year of these growing pains of these quirked kids.
Yeah. Because they're all like 12 right now, I think.
James is saying, I love the trope Bakugo has, like many shonen rivals, where he becomes a better hero almost because he just wants to be better than the hero. Exactly. And Nose Rain, exactly what you said is exactly the line I thought, which we'll get to in a minute when he actually says it. So
this is just the villain for the first, I think, 3 episodes. Is he in all 3 of them? He's on the first 2.
Just the first 2.
Yeah. And it's kind of a random one. It's just the bad guy for the first 2 episodes just to kind of introduce the characters. And I don't even think they gave him a name. I think
we just kind of know him as the sludge villain.
Yeah.
Really. but we do learn that he is crazy powerful, and that the majority of the heroes in the town that UA High like happens to reside in, or I don't know if that's the town that they're in. I'm guessing that's the town they're in. Cannot stand a candle to this villain. It requires something beyond what they are capable of doing.
Which is coming up.
Yep. And our first on-screen appearance of the man.
The man.
I love this guy. I love this guy.
I love the full transition into like bigger than big. It's amazing.
Yeah. It's a great thing too, because coming into this episode, we only see him in the opening, and you only see this giant form. So the very first thing you see being this, and then all of a sudden it grows to that, you're like, oh, there's something else happening here.
And he's telling everybody not to worry because he's there. He's there to help. So it's perfect. And his teeth are
his teeth are amazing. And that's great in every collectible of him. They always manage to get the teeth just right.
Oh, let me go back to poor Deku. Poor Midoriya. So he was showing off his little notebook, and he wasn't even showing it off. He was just holding it up because he was excited about being able to write something down about a villain thing earlier. And some people started teasing him that was something that he was good at, or something. I can't remember the exact context. And so poor Bakugo is like, nope, not gonna have this, and he decides to explode it and then throw it out the window.
Yeah, and I love Deku's reaction. It's just like, that's mean. I'm not quite sure if that's Deku saying this or if it is like the two people that are with Bakugo, because later on they even admonish Bakugo for doing this exact thing to poor Midoriya.
Yeah. He just throws it out the window into the lake. Oh, and then poor Deku tries to turn around and defend himself, and that is shot down very quickly because Bakugo is not going to have it.
And this look is in direct response to the line that Bakugo basically tells him to jump off the roof.
Oh, and die to have a second life. That is mean. I kind of like glanced past that because he didn't really take it seriously, but
yeah. Well, I mean, based on this look that I'm seeing right here, it does look like he took it pretty seriously.
Yeah.
But then we get the villainous looking Bakugo here shooting him right down.
Yeah. Oh. I wish we could get the motion of his head shaking because he's so excited. That was like my favorite part.
I might be able to get gifts for next episode. I'm going to be completely honest and open with all you guys. I was screenshotting this stuff like literally an hour before this episode went up. So I was trying to grab stuff quickly, but I think I'll try to get more like actual animated things for moments like this, because this is one where I'm sure everybody here in the chat right here is from Instagram, and you might notice in your Instagram GIFs you can get that motion of Deku just kind of rocking back and forth.
It's how excited all of us get when new figures are announced and stuff, so it makes sense. It's just super exciting. He's watched the same video 10,000 times, and his mom's like, "Really? Do you really want to watch this again?" And
I also like that it scared her. This video.
It's just very bloody because he's rescuing all those people, and it's kind of like, I mean, his mom is like Betty Crocker. That's what I think of. She cooks, she cleans, she's super nice. It's like the perfect mom for him because he's super nice. But this is the video announcing All Might as a hero or coming out of the woodwork, basically. So.
Oh yeah, and I love that he's clutching onto his little All Might figure as he watches the All Might video on TV or the computer for the 1,000th time. And so this is the video that he's watching. Yeah,
it said that he saved like I think 100 people in 10 minutes or something crazy like that. It was like just carrying.
I think up to this moment, like no hero had ever done a feat like that or something too. And there is a statue of this exact moment too, which I think is great.
Really?
Yeah.
I'll have to look it up. All right. Yeah.
But you will see, as the course of the series goes on, you will see this moment where we see Deku watching this and this video countless times. So get used to seeing this. You will see it a lot. It is one that we reference back to quite often. It is basically one of the core moments of Deku's character.
It's the core moments of the whole society, because that hero just made it.
Exactly.
And then we go to, because he's very excited, he wants to be a hero, and he goes to the doctor's office to figure out why he hasn't manifested his quirk yet. And the doctor basically lays into him, tells him he needs to give up because he's not going to have a quirk because he has an extra joint in his toe, or is it a lack of a joint? I can remember.
It's a lack. He has the extra joint. People with quirks apparently do not have the double joint in their pinky toe. They only have one, which is one of the most bizarre side effects of quirks. And I hope that, like, maybe, you know, by season 10, we get a little bit of why that is, because I would love to know.
And I'm wondering if it's in both feet or just one. So that was the other thing I was thinking about when we were talking.
I was wondering that too. And I think, and one of the things that we're going to go through during MHA Beyond, we'll be going through the actual series. And then perhaps we'll do special one-off episodes for the movies. But, you know, we're not going to be talking about them in the core series of this show for now, because as of right now, they take place outside of the continuity, really. But we meet another character who I believe in the first movie says something about the exact same thing about the foot thing, which is an interesting thing. So it's not just a one-off weird thing that one random doctor said to Deku. It is a scientifically proven. If you have a quirk, you only have one joint in your pinky toe.
Oh, and that face when he's totally defeated.
Yeah.
He would have took anything.
Yeah. One of the great things about this scene too is we get to learn a little bit more about Deku's mom and Deku's dad. We get to learn Deku's mom, who has the power to move small objects just a little bit with her mind. Basically, she has telekinesis. But I'm wondering if, given the right tutelage, as we talked about earlier, if that could have been, you know, full Jean Grey style powers. And it's just honestly just because she uses it to move like salt and pepper shakers around the kitchen, or, you know, maybe moves a clipboard around at work or something like that. Like, it's not fully fledged, you know. But Deku's dad, a character I have not met or no one meets and they never go into, can breathe fire.
Yeah.
It's just crazy. But it's like she says it off like just such a one-off thing. Oh yeah, he breathes fire like a norm, like as you do.
And it's interesting later on when they go through other characters' parents and how they like pair up and how their powers make the characters what they are. So it's interesting. The world goes into the science of it, which is a lot like X-Men too. Yep.
I love that about X-Men. Like Nate Gray, you know, we get a little bit of Jean Grey and Scott Summers, and you get this crazy Gable. But that's another show for another time. The articulator in the comments is saying, talking about the pinky toe joint theory. I think it's because that is the next theory about human evolution being kicked around right now. I guess if something like quirks existed, suddenly those people would not have that bone. Meaning, like, as something else comes up, as natural evolution happens, typically things that we don't need tend to phase its way out as things tend to come in. So maybe as quirks develop, the joint that you never use in your pinky toe, since most people can't even move their pinky toe independently, goes away. I want to just quickly go through the comments real quick. We will be easy chair dwellers like Wall-E, says James, in the future. Yes, I definitely foresee that happening at some point.
Oh. This part's awful.
And another part, get used to seeing, because we will see it.
Yeah, this is when he wanted his mom's the mom thing. This hits the mom card, which I'm sorry about. It's made me cry like when I watched it again. It's just that your child really wants that thing, the word of confidence, thinking that they could still be what they want to be when they get older. And he really wanted to be a hero, even though he has no quirk. And he's asking her, "Can I really still be a hero, even though I have that pinky toe bone?" Basically. Yeah.
And she just tells him, "I'm sorry."
Yeah, gives him a hug.
Yeah, I mean, I think in that situation it's kind of hard to kind of, you know, take it in. You know, it's it's unprecedented in this world where I believe they say at the start 80% of the population has quirks.
Yeah.
So it is something that the mom hasn't had to experience. The dad clearly didn't have to experience.
Mhm.
Clearly the dad isn't around, so she's had to do other hard talks with Deku as well. So this might have been a little hard one for her,
Mhm.
you know. And Richie is saying that this part made me want to cry. I think that a lot of us have that. James is saying that face right there is exactly how I feel when I read comics. I'm like, hopefully not all comics. And I want to go back to something the articulator said, where it's like everyone is wiggling their pinky toe right now.
Yeah.
Try to move your pinky toe independently from the second to pinky toe.
That's not gonna
Good luck with that. Just try. No.
Oh. And then on his way home, after Bakugo blew up his notebook, he's gonna try to cheer himself up. He's not gonna let anybody get him, and so he starts trying to laugh like All Might, and then gets attacked by the sludge monster.
Yeah, we spent a little bit of time where we actually get to see Deku like kind of pump himself back up. He's like, I'm not gonna let myself get down. Like that's just Bakugo. He's gonna say that stuff. I'm gonna hold my head strong, and then this thing comes out of the sewer directly. He's in a tunnel, and this thing appears. So it's horrible too. What's happening here, like. When I watch it, I think I stop breathing every time I watch the scene because I'm like, as someone is suffocating on screen, I tend to like I don't know, feel that weird empathetic feeling of like, oh God, I can't breathe too, and it's just like does not feel good. But
yeah, oh, I like how, and again, his presence is like larger than life. It's the coolest thing ever. So, yeah. And I like how the sludge monster earlier on says, if only that hadn't been here, like doesn't even name him, which is really cool for like to hear who this person is.
And I think at this point we know who All Might is basically just because of the video we saw of Deku watching the stuff in the past. But when we saw this character in the anime so far, the white shirt All Might with the giant belt buckle, which is a great belt buckle, and I should try to hunt down that belt buckle for myself. We know it's All Might, but it hasn't been expressively said yet. We know people are reacting like it's All Might, like it's like, oh my God, it's him, kind of thing, and it's great. So I just love that. Yeah, close up. It's All Might. I think this is when he announces, "I am here." Again, I believe I started writing down how many times he said "I am here," but then I was like, I bet Steph has the good tally of like every episode of him saying this kind of stuff.
No, I only did the Deku ones.
All right, well,
I'll write down some other characters. I'll leave Bakugo alone for the next one.
Well, at the end of each episode, I want to know what you've tallied and how many times they've said it. But I know All Might says "I am here" quite a lot in the first episode. He says another word, which is kind of shocking, in the second episode quite a few times, which we'll get to. But yeah.
Oh, and then he saves him, which is the way he saves him is instead of punching, because the guy is fluid, he uses the wind from the punch, which is, and the names of his moves are the coolest thing on the planet because they're very. This
one was Texas, the Texas Smash.
Yeah. He always did, like, the bigger the punch, the larger the continent, state, country, the world. He gets all crazy with it, and Deku gets excited that it's All Might, and All Might had already signed his notebook because he's thinking that fast ahead. And it's a really cute little moment.
He is, and what we learn from these few episodes, the prototype for the hero of this world, like the perfect hero in every way. He's the number one. He saves everybody. He thinks of the victim first and foremost. Even after he beats the villain, which he made sure, yes, he is the Texas Smash because it's a wind-based attack. It's basically when he punches so hard, the air that creates just blows the villain off of him. And he's already signed the book. And one of the things I actually wanted to quickly talk about when we first saw a sludge villain and the second time we saw a sludge villain, the musical cue. That happens during a lot of these scenes, and I started to write that down in my notes, and I actually just looked down and I saw it. is that there is a very particular villain music cue that we hear a lot, and it's a very striking song. I was listening to it today while I was walking around. I was walking Eli, my dog, out and about, and it's the music cues that they have for the big heroic moments, the battle music, the villain, like what's going to happen, and it really gives you that sense of either like amped if it's going to be a good thing or dread if it's going to be a villain. And when Deku is suffocating, that dread music turns up a notch. The volume turns up, and it's like you're starting to feel it. But then you get the All Might music when the day is saved.
No. And so All Might tries to leave because he needs to go drop this villain off at the police station and carry on with his day. And Deku cannot let him go because he wants to ask him some questions because of being a super fan and just being himself. You stop calling him Deku, Midoriya. And so
it's easier to say Deku.
It is. It's just shorter. He just grabs him by his leg, and this is when All Might realizes, he's like, oh my gosh, this little kid is like hanging on to me, and he first asks him just to let go, and he's like, I can't, I'm gonna die.
Yeah.
So he's like, okay, you need to close your mouth and eyes, and then we'll land. So,
he literally says the line to him, your fanaticism is too much. Which, I'm a big diehard My Hero fan. I resonate with that in a very strong way, and I'm like, okay, I get it, but I'm still going to love you the way how Deku loves you. So, and I like the articulator here when we were talking about the size of moves that All Might does. He's said the Rhode Island flick. I love it. I used to live in Rhode Island. I lived in Rhode Island for about 15 years, I think. So yeah, really funny.
Oh, this is the word.
Yep.
Yep. This is one of the funny things too, is I didn't realize there was this much cursing in the beginning. And I think it's what I liked the episodes more, even because it kind of gave it that adult feel too. Cause I was kind of worried that it was going to be a little bit, and Richie, don't get mad, but Naruto's a little kitty in the first few seasons. So it's hard to get into if you are my age. And so nice to see.
Yeah.
So, and then this is the first time we see like there's something wrong with All Might, and so it's a good up close kind of the blood and everything.
And the way the Japanese voice actor says shit is, and hopefully we don't get knocked on YouTube for saying that, or I guess it's right there. The word is right there, over there. But the way how he says it is one of my favorite things. He says it a couple times in this episode, the next episode. In the first movie, I think he says it like 5 times. It's great. It is fantastic because he says it in English. There's a couple of things that he'll say in English, and shit, and then like he emphasizes on the T. It's perfect.
I think this is the ending of it, of this episode, when Midoriya is really, his one big question for All Might is just, hey, I don't have a quirk. Can I still be a hero like you? Is it possible? Is my dream just really unrealistic? Should I listen to everybody else and who they're talking and stuff? And he just wants that validation of, I can still move forward and be what I want to be.
Yeah. And this is like the perfect person to ask it to, right? Because this is the guy that inspired that dream. Like, who knows if before All Might, Deku even gave a second look to heroes. I mean, I'm sure he did. He was a kid growing up in a quirk society. It seemed like everybody wants to be heroes. When we learned that Deku is going to go off to UA, the reason that comes is because the teacher asked the class, like, what does everybody want to be? And he's like, just kidding, you all want to be heroes. And everybody's like, yeah. But we get to see something that is very rare for anybody is like, a person getting to ask the person who inspired your dreams, do you think I can, even though I'm starting at a point lower on the starting line than everybody else? I'm quirkless. Like, do you think that there's a chance for me out there to be a hero? And we don't get the answer at the end of episode 1. We're just left to linger. With that, we're going to end episode 1. And I do wanted to ask everybody here in the audience that's watching, and I also want to ask Steph, what everybody's favorite moment was from the first episode. I know there's a lot because it's an origin story, so you're getting like a lot of like, you know, Kid Deku, Kid Bakugo. I know yours is definitely going to be Katsuki Bakugo related stuff. There's no question in my mind, but who knows? You might surprise me. So I'll throw it to you, Steph, first.
Actually, I do like the whole origin behind Deku when he's finding out he's quirkless. Just the way he handles it as a child and kind of growing from that is actually one of my favorite moments from the entire show. Is just that he starts out that determined and strong, because usually sometimes they'll get really weak and they need other people to build them up. And him and Bakugo both start off really strong with their passions and what they want. So it's kind of nice to see some strong characters from the startup.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
At least emotionally.
We definitely get a lot of emotions from all the characters that we're treated to at the beginning of the series. And it's very interesting to kind of see and watch how that will grow over time. James is saying, I thought he said that his favorite moment was when they say, holy shit. But, no, just saying it reminds him of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. I love how all-out attack the introduction to the world was, and Mount Lady sweats loudly. The introduction to the world, I think, is probably, and it's hard to say that is a scene that's my favorite from the show, but it really is like the almost J.R. Tolkien-esque way that this world isn't just there. You're not just getting a surface level thing. You're getting like, okay, heroes are profession, right? I think it's that scene really where we're getting like a treat into, all right, profession, the heroes are profession. We get the breakdown of the government paying them based on performance, like all that stuff. It's like you're getting to learn like, okay, this is like well thought out of in this world. And like when we see the heroes battling, you know, they're trying to work with each other. We see the rescue heroes rescuing. We see the attack heroes attacking and the capturing heroes capturing. Like everybody's kind of teeing up for the other person because they all know their roles and they all know that is like how the society structure works. Yeah, there's going to be some catfighting to get like the final capture glory hog, but we'll get treated to the resolution of that later on, and it might shock you to learn, you know, it's not as bad. You know, Kamai might not be upset at Mount Lady for stealing the thunder, kind of thing. So it's really intriguing in that way. Christy really likes watching Deku's excitement as a kid when he watches all my videos and copies his voice and laugh. Just hearing the All Might laugh and then hearing Kid Deku do it as well is great. Definitely the articulator says definitely the explanation of the world this takes place in. Big fan of the M-Day storyline in X-Men, and it's pretty much that from a different perspective. Very much so, actually. I didn't even think of that. Good point. Let's see. Fire Scorpio says, my only gripe with MHA is the unnecessarily sexualized heroine suits that keep getting worse and worse. I mean, I can see where you're coming from with that. They definitely put reasons for some of those in there. And yeah, you could say that's a negative in that tone, for sure. I think that's a lot of anime. There's always that. I think that MHA is one of the lesser of those, in my mind, for sure, because I've watched some that are like, I can't recommend this to people because of this stuff happening, but otherwise, really great stuff.
I think a lot of superheroes, even like in comic book universes, have the same thing. Yeah. And it might be even for males too. Some of them are a little tight. So it's just the way it happens to work. But you have to look past it sometimes for the story. But it is unfortunate.
Yes, agreed. Creation Odyssey says, my favorite is how he wasn't discouraged. Like he's still so fascinated to the point that at this point he has 13 notebooks of notes. That alone just made me want to root for him. I love that. That was great. Good point, because this is his 13th notebook for future success or something like that. Hero notebook for future. I forget the title of the notebooks. Yeah. Articulator, you're going to say Kill a Kill, but I will actually remind you, if you get further into Kill a Kill, the guys are completely naked. The girls have terrible outfits on, but the guys are just straight out things swaying in the wind. So if anything, everybody is terrible in that one. And that's kind of what made it slightly okay in my mind. My favorite part was Deku's reaction to being told he can't by his mom. That really hit close to home. Just when my dad told you won't make it, why do you want to study film? It's hard to see the parental figure not build up that person, right? Because you want to be like, no, that's not what you say. But it's hard being in that moment too.
You don't know what's going through her mind either, because she's trying to not give him some humongous false hope either. If he had like a little tiny quirk, she might have just let him shoot to the moon. If he moved small objects around the thing, she probably would have cheered him on forever. But being quirkless in that society is a heavy hitter, even for everybody. So,
and as we'll get to, and we should get right into episode 2 in a second, just because we've been going for a while already. But we will see that, at a certain point, you have to be realistic with your dreams too, right? And even All Might says that. So, speaking of All Might.
Which is funny because in the first episode, you watch him come from this form to the big form. So it's nice that he gets all the steam and everything. It's kind of like he's deflating like a balloon. It reminds me of Baymax when he like needs to deflate and everything in that. He's kind of like that exterior. And the reaction that Midoriya has to this, where he thinks he's a fake, made me laugh really hard.
Oh yeah, that was great. It's so good. Like, I don't know, this whole transition. He's like, what? And we cut away from this scene to go to the next one. I thought the next slide was Deku's reaction, because I do have that in here.
Yeah.
But it's his reaction is priceless.
Mm-hmm. You go to the next one though, where All Might dropped the villain because of Midoriya and trying to shake him off while mid-flight. So he's in the villain wakes up and he's like, oh gosh, where am I? I'm in an alley. And unfortunately for poor Bakugo, he decides to kick the bottle out of aggression because he's irritated that Deku wants to be at UA2 and he wants to show that he's the best and he's the only one that should go because he wants that stat. Now he's going to be an invisible cloak with a great quirk and get attacked by this sludge monster.
I do love that anybody who sees Katsuki here, like in the world, knows how good his quirk is. Like, you make stuff explode, that is amazing. I mean, not just you don't make stuff explode, you just make explosions. Like, it is fantastic. And we'll go into his quirk in a much later episode when we get to go dive deep into that. But because it's not just he makes stuff explode, it's much more nuanced than that, and that's one of the great things about this whole world.
Yeah, it's very unique. It's not just a fire or an explosion, so it's very cool that they thought about it.
I also wanted to say one thing that we didn't cover of the last episode. The last episode's title was Izuku Midoriya Origin. We did get that origin, and the title of this one is What It Takes to Be a Hero.
Mm-hmm.
So that's good. And the last scene we saw was the real first major appearance of Skinny Toshi, which is All Might. So, which there he is again.
With all the blood in its glory.
A lot of blood, and there's that reaction.
It's like a cat with its back to the wall. It's like, what's going on?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, you saw your idol right in front of you deflate into this sickly appearance, because they definitely reference All Might as being kind of, he's skinny All Might, but he's skinny because he's sick. He's very sick. Mm-hmm. And so you see your idol get sickly, he started bleeding profusely from his mouth. I'd probably have that same reaction too.
And I just realized that his hair goes down.
Yeah.
I didn't even think about that for art form instead of it being straight up for when he's All Might. It's awesome.
I do love that they have that.
Oh, in this part. He's trying to explain why he's deflated, and it's because he's like the guys at the pool who need to flex when they get out of the pool because they have to show off that they're bigger and better.
Yep. Creation honestly said that this freaked me out. I was like, wait, why is he spitting up blood? I thought he was about to die right then. Honestly, yeah, the amount of blood that All Might loses in this one episode alone, I think would probably send a normal human being to the hospital. Mm-hmm. But he is All Might, and also he's a cartoon. So luckily, we see a lot of bloody characters in anime. Usually the blood is related to something else, but for Toshi it actually is related to his condition.
Yeah.
And this scene, it's over here. I got to remember if everything's backwards. is fantastic because big buff All Might is just him being poolside, being like, I'm still strong, big buff All Might.
Yeah.
But that gets tiring after a while.
And then he shows his injury and everything, which Midoriya called because he's been studying him for so long. He knew what fight it was, which I couldn't remember. I didn't write it down which villain it was.
Well, he thought it was that villain. And then All Might corrects him, being like, that is that same time, but the villain that actually caused it, one that we will learn later on, is we kept that one off the books because it was just too dangerous for that to be out there.
And he lost his whole stomach? Is that what it was?
He lost half of his respiratory system and his entire stomach.
Yeah.
He would not be doing well with a respiratory disease out there in the world. So if you're, around All Might, or around anybody, wear a mask. But still, All Might would not survive in this current climate.
Hence all the blood bleeding.
Yeah.
And this one. This is when he's telling him now that he only has 3 hours in his buff form a day, which is not very much time to save the world if you are running around doing errands and happen to run into a sludge monster. So
I mean, if you space it out, as long as your battles don't go on so long, and that's why he, defeats them so quickly. I'm sure probably what takes a lot of his time is praising or like the stuff he has to do with like interviewers and like, schmoozing with fans and stuff like that. But yeah, like 3 hours, not a lot. But as Richie and I were talking about this nose rain in the comments over there and on Instagram, we're talking about the framing of the scene and just like the way how this one with the last scene of the first episode, where it's like this big, here's Deku meeting his idol, full screen, one on either side. It's like there's a big gap, and you get this all the sky. It's hopeful. It's big. It's positive. But this one, 3/4 of the screen is black, and it's like really compressed and really tight. And it's as he's telling the story about how compressed the time is that he has left to be a hero in a day. And so you kind of feel that stress in the animation and like the way how they compose the scene without it actually having to, they don't even have to say it as much or like kind of hammer it home. It's just the way how the actual animators decided to add that flair into the show as well. And so I think we cut away from Deku and his idol for a moment to go to...
Oh, Bakugo. And so in this part, he is fighting well, but like everyone else's quirks right now in this area, it's not doing much against Fluid. It's like it's not apparently not flammable. It's apparently not anything that he can do, and he's using all the power that he can to fight this thing. Yeah. And it's causing quite the stir and quite the scene because now not only do they have this Fluid monster, they have narrow streets. They got explosions everywhere because Bakugo's blowing stuff up because he's erratic and untrained. So it's causing quite the stir. I think they're downtown. I think it's in like an urban area.
Yeah, it's a very small side street because we do learn in this scene some of the weaknesses of some of the heroes that we got to meet in the first episode. Mount Lady expresses the 2-lane situation, how that is a big weakness for her because
she needs 2 lanes to be able to fit through buildings.
Yep, without destroying stuff. And Kamai, because he's made of wood, can't be around flames, which Bakugo, as you said, is throwing off explosions left and right. And it'll actually be important to note, the villain himself, the sludge monster, does comment on how strong Bakugo is and how great he's going to be once he takes him over because of how much he's fighting. It's like, wow, you're able to fight me off like this much? Like, you're going to be a great host. You're so strong.
Yeah.
But
it is. Yeah, it's very funny that I saw it in this part because there's big hero society about everybody wants to be a hero, how your quirks are so unique. And they're all standing back and they wait. They're like, we have to wait for a hero with a quirk that'll actually work. Yep. They have to have somebody who's appropriate. And I'm thinking in my head, I'm like, these poor people, this poor kid is getting suffocated. He's probably not going to make it because we can't think outside the box of how to utilize yourself as a team or how to they might not even work together that often. It was very unique.
And it's also one of those interesting things if you want to make a parallel from that to one of the modern film franchises that we have, the Avengers movies, where they had to sign the Accords, and they're like, the Accords aren't going to work because by the time you need us to come in and you have the UN sign off all the papers and you have all this stuff, it's going to be too late. And it's just like these heroes standing around being like, I'm not good with explosions, as we see Kamai Woods here say, or Mount Lady with the 2-lane roads, or I think Death Fist.
I think that's what he said. He said he couldn't do anything because punching is not going to hit. It's not
Yep.
solid.
Because he doesn't have the power that All Might has to generate wind with his fists. So it's like they're just standing around and waiting for a hero instead of trying. And that might not be the best thing to do. I will say I missed a couple of scenes I think would have been important to talk about, which was All Might's response to Deku. And I don't know if you have that in your notes or not. I think I might have written it down.
Well, it's basically him telling him that if he's quirkless, that he might want to look at doing a more realistic profession, like a police officer or something to that manner. Because unfortunately, heroes need their quirks. It's a big, strong world, and as he's found out, he's injured. He's the greatest hero ever, and you're seeing that he even has a limitation. Somebody without quirks it's not going to make it, and it hit poor Midoriya hard because this is his idol telling him yet again, someone else telling him that no, you can't do this. You can't have your dream. You have to move on. And so he gets a little bit more deflated emotionally. And this is when All Might also notices that he's missing his containers and doesn't know where the villain is. And then all the smoke's going off, and they both realize that the villain's loose and that there's somebody in danger. And Midoriya now realizes that by grabbing hold of All Might's legs, he made that choice and caused this whole problem.
I will say I did write down from the scene where we had All Might on one side and Deku on the other. I told you those Litras were going to die.
Yeah, I was like, it's already dead.
I did write down some quotes because I thought they were really important and really good. Because Deku says that he wants to be a hero like All Might, one who could smile fearlessly. And All Might looks back at him after kind of laughing, and he says, I smile to show the pressure of heroes and to trick the fear inside of me. So it's kind of say, I'm not fearless. It's to trick that fear. That's why I'm smiling. I'm not just smiling, for outward appearances. It's to kind of be like, I have to smile, so therefore I can do this. I can prove to even myself that I'm here. And as you were saying, this is the moment that was the moment that we saw Deku's childlike idea and the glitz and glamour of heroes start to fade as he learns more about the truths and the risks. And, because All Might tells him about, heroes die. And then All Might delivers that death blow to him when it says, it's like, it's not bad to dream, but you also have to be realistic.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a rough one. Yeah, and then we get to the Deku scene here after they notice the villain's gone. All Might dashes off the roof. Deku slowly starts to follow, but kind of dejected. He kind of is lost in his own world, I think, thinking and kind of just wandering around about meeting his hero, and his hero telling him, you got to be a realistic kid. You're quirkless. Heroes die. You might not make it, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And yes, Deku says that it's his fault here, but the scene prior to this, I think it's important to know that All Might says it's All Might's fault for spending too much time, for admonishing Deku and not heeding his own words.
Mm-hmm.
And
that's one of the English words he says too, because I think he says pathetic to himself quite a few times.
Oh yeah, like 20 times. I think he says pathetic like over and over and over again. And the crowd also knows that All Might's around because of that scene that we saw him in episode 1 in the grocery mart. People saw All Might, so they recognized that.
And then there's this part where poor Bakugo finally gets the sludge all the way over his face, and he's just about ready to, he needs help. He's realizing he's not strong enough to get out of the situation by himself, and he has this expression that's just he's a child, so he's just like, I need help. Someone please help me. Where's the heroes that are going to save me? Because I can't do this myself, which makes Midoriya just take off, because it's his inner wanting to help, inner hero part where he's just like, I have to do something.
And it's one of those scenes that's great because nothing is said. It's just he recognizes that look on Katsuki's face. And I keep saying Katsuki because it's just Bakugo. Like, I want to say Bakugo, but they say it differently. It's one of those, yeah. I don't want to be that wrong, and Katsuki's easy. Or I could say Kachan. But this is also one of those scenes with Deku here running off into the white to chase after Bakugo that we will see over and over and over again as points are being made throughout the course of this series, because it is a very important moment in the building of Deku as a hero.
Mm-hmm. And then this is in reference to him running at the villain and being like, okay, now what do I do? Because I have no quirk, I have to have a plan. And so he's basically going through his mind, which is his notebooks, of trying to figure out something. And he realizes what page he was on, that he reminded of something that Kamui Woods actually does, which is throwing something to make the villain flinch, and so maybe release Bakugo and allow Bakugo to do what he needs to do.
Yeah, just kind of give himself that slight opening. Because I think at this moment, Deku also realizes, like, oh, hey, I'm running towards the villain. Why am I running towards the villain? What just happened? My legs are like moving on their own. What am I supposed to do? But one of Izuku's like greatest strengths is the fact that he has always been watching heroes, and he breaks down everything that they've done, everything that they've ever said, anything that he's seen them go up against villains, and he uses that to his own advantage, like this.
And this is in reference to Bakugo trying to ask him, why are you running at me? Like, what are you going to do? And him trying to put on that fearless smile, just like All Might does, and just simply states, it looked like you were asking for help.
Yeah. I think you said the right word, where he tried to put on that smile, because this is terrifying.
Yeah, well, he's scared.
Like, he's crying. For a second there, I thought he had snot coming out of his nose, but he doesn't, luckily. I'm sure that's to come.
Yeah.
But like, he just like looks wild-eyed, you know, and it's crazy. And I'm like, oh my God, kid, maybe don't smile during this moment. It's just maybe not the right one.
And then more blood.
Yeah. We actually see All Might dash in here.
I think this is almost mid-transformation. Like, it took a lot out of him to, like, I have to run and hit full blast at this guy, because he gets there just in time to save both Bakugo and Midoriya. And so it's enough for the blast where he's, like, holding on to them, because they look like ragdolls in the wind because of how much that hit just, like, takes out that villain.
It's also important to know, like, that when he deflates on the rooftop with Deku, it's because he absolutely hit the limit. Like, he is just gassed. There's no more big, strong All Might left. So when he gets to the scene, All Might gets there first. Midoriya just kind of wanders up after the fact. All Might's been there. He's in the back. He's kind of like watching. He's like, what am I supposed to do? I can't do anything. I'm powerless. I'm pathetic. I'm pathetic. I'm pathetic. He says it a lot. And then he sees Deku run out from the crowd. And this kid has no power whatsoever, never even did, never had a chance whatsoever. And the kid knows it. And he just got told that by his idol, and his idol knows this. So we get to see that great go beyond plus ultra attitude. He just dashes in, gets strong again for that one final push.
This is like a lot of foreshadowing too, because you watch poor Midoriya is getting chewed out at this other point, and they're basically yelling at him. What made you think that was okay? Like, you don't have any quirks. You're not good enough for this. Basically, leave it to real pros. Leave it to real heroes. And I see that running throughout most of the series after a while too for these kids.
Yeah.
And then
Bakugo's being praised, right?
Yeah, he's being praised, but he's being praised that he's going to make an excellent sidekick, and he's so strong. But one of his strengths is knowing, and this is where the side slant eye is that he wasn't strong enough. And not only wasn't strong enough, but Midoriya saw him not be strong enough. And so he's just like, why is this kid always here when I don't want him to be? And so now he, in his mind, this the way his character likes, it's a weakness in him, and he has to be the best. So it's gonna
It is
be a
such
lot.
a great look, like the look
Mm-hmm.
that he gives him here. And it's interesting because I think the last time we saw Bakugo and Deku was when we saw those two glances at each other, and like the wild-eyed, crazy, evil look that Bakugo gave him.
Mm-hmm.
And then Midoriya, it's like kind of was rattled from that. But this is different. Like this is like a whole new emotion, and it's like kind of waking up something else in him. And it's,
Mm-hmm.
I think we get to see this look a couple more times in these 2 episodes, even that we have left. And this is another one of those scenes that he kind of gives that same look.
And I don't even know if he's really yelling at Midoriya. I think he's just voicing this right now for everybody around and for himself, because he wants to make it very clear that he never asks for anybody's help. He didn't want anybody's help. He was going to do it himself, and he
would have
failed.
died, but he would have done it himself.
Yeah, exactly. And unfortunately, Midoriya almost died too, trying to help him. So I think he's just trying to figure out how to voice that concern. But again, it shows a dynamic between the two, that they're always both shooting for almost the same goal, but doing it in different ways. It's pretty cool.
And this is immediately after we see All Might defeat the sludge villain,
Mm-hmm.
which he uses the Detroit Smash to stop the villain there, which created a whirlwind up to the sky, changed the weather, ended up raining, and everybody's like, oh my God, his punch changed the weather. That is something.
Mm-hmm.
And then, we got Katsuki here get praised and Deku get admonished. And then we see Midoriya on his way home, and this is Bakugo running up behind him on his way home and stopping him, which you'd think that a normal person would be like, thank you for attempting to help me, even though you had no power or anything like that. But Bakugo's Bakugo, and he would not be the type to say thank you for something like that. But yeah, then I don't think I have the rest of this in screenshot form. He yells a little bit more, and then he kind of heads off.
Yeah.
And then the second he heads off, someone else appears. The best way.
In his little pose. Oh my God.
He's such a ham, and that's one of the things that's best about what I love about all. He's such a ham. Everything he does is over the top and exaggerated.
This is one of the best moments in the entire thing, is when All Might decides that he's gonna take Deku in. So he tells him, "You can become a hero." It's the words that Midoriya wanted all along through every person he's ever met.
I did actually write down what Bakugo said to Deku in this previous screen.
Mm-hmm.
He said, "I never asked for your help, and you didn't help me. Got it? Don't you look down on me, you damn nerd." And then he storms off.
Yes, I wrote down there's Bakugo translations basically for me, and that's just like, he doesn't want anybody thinking that they're better than him, and so he has to be the best. It's almost, there's another character later, I'm not gonna ruin it, but he reminds me of another character in this who has the same relationship with All Might, I think, almost.
Chrissy, which moment is the best moment? Is it this one here? You can become a hero, because this is a fantastic moment.
Mm-hmm.
This scene, but leading up to this, when All Might dashes out, he says, "Young man, I come with thanks, a correction, and a suggestion." And I love that he's just like, he comes out and he has like these 3 things. He's just like, I have these 3 things to tell you. And basically the thanks, the correction, and a suggestion. And the thanks is obviously, thank you for showing that I wasn't powerless. I should have dashed. Like, being a hero isn't just, standing on the sidelines and waiting for someone else to come along. It's to like push past your limits and kind of like just get out there and save somebody. Like, even if you're powerless, get out there and save somebody. Let's see. I know I have some more notes here. Oh, your timid quickness. You made it all. Oh, your timid quickness made it so All Might could act. So him dashing out made it so All Might could do the same. And then he told him the correction was, top heroes have stories from their younger days. Most have one thing in common, and that's that their feet move before their brains, basically. Mm-hmm. And we saw All Might do that. And before this scene specifically, we get a lot of Deku clutching his chest and pulling on his own shirt, and he's lamenting the fact that his mom could have said one thing to him, and all he wanted her to say to him, he was going to get there eventually, was, "You can become a hero." And All Might, this idol, soon to be, seems like in the next episode we get a little bit more, almost father figure to Deku, say that, and it's just like Deku's crying. He's definitely snotting during the scene too. And also, I don't think I grabbed a screenshot of it. So this is the "You can become a hero." The next thing, I believe Deku says dreams can become reality. No, All Might says that. And then after that is when we get Deku doing a voiceover on top of this. It's like modern day Deku says, "By the way, I forgot to mention that this is the story of how I became the greatest hero." So we get a little bit into like the whole overarching plot point of My Hero Academia is, yes, this is the journey to get to the point where Deku is telling this story to us, the viewer. Like, this is Deku's story. This is the wonder years, right, of superheroes in this world. So that's episode 2. Favorite moment, Steph?
This episode was kind of a whirlwind, so it was kind of nice just to see the fight scenes and how the animation was going to go. So my favorite moments, I think, were just being able to see the heroes kind of how they act in the world without having some of the key characters. And I do like their limitations. It makes it more realistic. So even though it's kind of lame, but it's still kind of cool at the same time. I did like the ending, and I'm going to say it because Bakugo's character kind of did grow a little bit, and I was interested in their dynamic anyways, because I wanted it to be something better than most shows where it's the same old. I'm angry for 8 seasons and all this stuff, but it was nice.
Getting to see that transformation begin really towards the end of the second episode started to give a little glimmer of hope. I'll tell you, like, I didn't get that, I think, the first time going through. But, as time went on, I recognized the changes in Bakugo at that point. For me, my favorite moment was, for sure, All Might dashing out from behind the hedges. And I think he even yells, like, "I am here." And Midoriya's like, "Well, wait a second, weren't you just with the reporters?" And he's like, "Yes, and I got away from them." Like, brushing back his hair. I think he does a lot of this kind of posing during that scene, which I love. His poses are fantastic. I think it's time we catch up with the chat just like a little bit. My boy has big insecurity issues, that is for sure. Deku definitely has some insecurity issues. So does Bakugo. Both the boys have insecurity issues. That scene really reminded me of Afro Samurai for some reason. Which scene? I haven't watched Afro Samurai since it first came out. I should really watch that. That was a long time ago too now, wasn't it?
Yeah. I think it was high school.
Yeah. I was definitely in college. I think I was out of college, which is dating me. But, I even have some figures from Afro Samurai.
Really?
And I don't even quite remember the show all that much. I should definitely rewatch it.
It was good.
Creation Odyssey says, "Not gonna lie, I cried with him." Hey, I mean, I hear it because like when I watch this kind of stuff, I don't cry. I will laugh sometimes, but I have a weird thing where I get goosebumps like a lot when it's like big emotional scenes or just like characters show up on screen. And the first 3 episodes of My Hero, and even watching it for the upteenth time like this for me, I got goosebumps like every 5 minutes in this freaking show. It's crazy. It's just like, it's nuts. There's always those moments.
It's funny you say that because I usually get the goosebump thing just for when it's like comic book oriented. So like Avengers movies, like The Boys and like stuff that I watch of that, it gives me goosebumps kind of stuff for that. And the haiku intros are always like the thing that will give me goosebumps. So it's funny that you say it about this because I didn't get it for the first 3 episodes, but definitely when we were watching the newer seasons, it gets there. So
yeah, you didn't have it for any of the earlier stuff.
I think I was writing notes too much to pay attention and trying to get like some more information on it, so I wasn't really absorbing it as much as I should have.
You're taking notes. You should be absorbing it even more so than normal.
It was like muttering to myself.
Which is great because we're going to be getting to the muttering in the next episode. Let's see. Creation Odyssey also says, when Deku runs to save Bakugo, I was like, yes! Was actually expecting his quirk to come out, but glad it didn't. That would have been great if like that was like in a different story. If Deku did have like a quirk to manifest, that would have been a great moment for it to manifest. The Articulator says, I couldn't stop laughing when All Might was explaining what happened to him to Deku, and he just kept spitting up blood. They definitely got to the point with the blood pouring out that it was more of a humorous thing. And as we learn with this show and a lot of animes, like they use that stuff for comedic effect. It's not really the, oh my God, I'm dying. It's the every time he spits up blood, it's just like, oh my God, All Might, you're a disaster. You're world's greatest hero, but oh man, if people can see the disaster you really are.
Exactly.
Fire Scorpio says, what I love most about Deku is that he has no issue showing his emotions, not when he is emotionally stumped in that way, which makes him an interesting and unique character. He is not emotionally stumped in that way. Yes, I agree with that. And that's one of the things that when I first watched this, I was going through a rough time in my life, mentally, like just mental health stuff. And this is a show that brought me out of it, mainly because like I got to like live pair and pair with Deku, as like Deku was hating on himself and kind of like feeling down. He would push himself, be like, no, I got to bring myself up out of this. It's like, yeah, there's all these people around that some might believe in me. Most are telling me the exact opposite. Most are telling me you can't do this thing. But no, I'm going to do it. And not only that, but I got to work twice as hard and push myself up. So I love that about that character. James says, I'm crying at every little thing. I love that, James. You're a true MHA fan, and I love it for that. Yeah, so let's go on to episode 3, which would be down here, different screen. There we go. Oh, that's actually the last scene from the second episode. However, third episode does begin with this as well. So this is just a powerful image too, of him like standing up, looking down at him. And it's funny because it's like this, and it's skinny All Might. It's not even like powerful All Might in this almost watercolor-esque scene. It is skinny, scrawny, deflated, emaciated, half respiratory system, no stomach All Might.
I think it's a little bit more powerful that way too, because he's genuinely like emotionally powerful All Might. He's decided that the person is his equal.
When they are like this and it's powered down All Might and it's Deku without power, they are equals. But the thing that makes him different is exactly what you just said. It's that emotional side that All Might has been through the struggles and has come out the other side. And that's why I think Deku is learning even more to love about his hero during this. It's like there's more than just the strength and the power and the smile and the I am here's. It's everything else that makes him this amazing figure in his life. All Might Curry. I just noticed this is All Might Curry. It's hard to read when this stuff's happening, the top dialogue, because I'm too busy reading the bottom stuff.
Movie in the works, which is hilarious too, by the way.
All my chips. I want all my chips.
So what I wrote on this is was an explanation of what All Might is, basically, and it was kind of going through how his power is unknown, how he makes jokes to say, hey, we're not going to worry about that, and how it's like a #1 talked topic in the chat. And then I wrote really big nonsense, because I think that he says it really loud during one of his explanations during this.
In English. I love it. He's like, nonsense.
Yeah. I think Midoriya is trying to like say that he's not worthy of inheriting it right at this point.
I also think a lot of this, because it's basically, this is during the start of Midoriya's muttering, that a lot of this is from Midoriya's perspective. So he is really building up like this All Might figure, as you were saying, like, he's not worthy of the power, that kind of stuff. It's like he's building it up. We're seeing all these charts fly across the screen of like, villains on the decline, blah, 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 blah. But I think a lot of it is, inside of Deku's mind, All Might, projection, the best, the greatest, all that stuff. Which this scene, I think, is the epitome of that. It's like, this is, if you just said the word All Might to Deku, this is the scene that would pop up in his head. Giant All Might statue, doves flying above, rays of like god rays coming in from the side. Because when Deku first starts telling the story, they actually just show like the city, and it's like all these dark clouds. But you start talking about All Might breaking onto the scene, and you start to see these rays of light start to break through the sky. And I'm like, oh my god, this is. I mean, that's what I think of my heroes too. But I mean, like, dude, chill out a little bit.
I think, this is the part. And he's like, nonsense. He just like yells it, and then just like tells him he's completely worthy to inherit the power. And does he talk about how he was without a quirk?
No, nope. Later. That's much later. It's like season 2.
Okay.
Oh no, yeah, it's after the school tournament.
Mm-hmm. So I just ruined it for everybody.
No, not at all. I think you said it in such a small way.
I think this entire time he's basically, and I thought it was funny because All Might's trying to sell his own power to this kid who wants it probably more than anybody else in the world. Yeah. And so he starts trying to explain how his quirk is. I
truly think that this is what All Might though thinks of the One for All quirk as well. Mm-hmm. Like, it is the greatest quirk that's out there. It is like, it's the antithesis to the big bad kind of thing. It's like the greatest thing.
It's funny how he explains it like it's like I was thinking of like a diamond. It's like pressurized a bunch of people's powers and their ways of utilizing that quirk as it goes on through history. So it's almost like it is inherited, but it's almost it's like you get it's like a recipe passed down through like grandparents. Like you always make it a little bit different, add more butter, you do your own thing. So
it becomes, and I think there's a phrase he actually says, and I wish I could remember it, or I wish I had it written down and I know, but where it's like the culmination of all of each person. So it's their entire full development in life. It's 1. The next person, their entire full development in life is 2. And I want to say Deku, I'm not going to tell the number because that will come up later anyway. And I don't want to but there are numerous people. And as we learned, because my quirk was passed on to me like a sacred torch, that means that All Might isn't number 1. He's definitely somewhere in that tier. And Deku could become number next.
Yeah.
Real quick, I just want to say Vash12349 appeared. And he said, I made it. Wasted opportunity to say, I am here. Which is cheesy, but I would have done it. And everybody's talking about how they want All Might snacks, and I'm also totally for it. And I think Christy said that she wouldn't even open it. She would just display them. James said, let's replace some of the statues in the U.S. with All Might statues. 100% for it.
Mm-hmm.
And James says, I thought Deku would manifest a quirk that was everybody's quirk, and he would have to channel one at a time like X-Men Legion or whatever, or whoever. We'll get to that later, because who knows? We haven't fully seen Deku's quirk yet. So, we get a little bit as time goes on. But so, yeah. This is really more of a foreshadowing for later. And that's all I want to say about that. But this was something that upon rewatch jumped out at me because of the line he says. and they linger on his injury when he says this line, and it is, I think, very important in a way. So we'll leave it at that.
And the muttering.
This is Deku. This is my Deku. Just like lost in a world, babbling on about something. And he's, if you read what he's saying, because it'll say mutter, mutter, mutter at the top, but he is actually saying stuff at the bottom, and it's all right. And it's all like, he's breaking stuff down in his head. It's all the stuff you think about. And it's like, it comes out just mutter, mutter, mutter to everybody. And I love this graphic of it where it's just like, it's a whirlwind. And All Might's just looking at him like, what are you doing?
Mm-hmm.
This scene is powerful. And I think another one we'll see a bunch.
Mm-hmm. Just the way he portrays the quirk is really unique and very cool.
Yeah. And this is also when we learn the name of the quirk. Because everybody else's quirk is like, voice modulation or something, float. But his quirk is one for all. And that would mean nothing to nobody until it gets explained about, it gets passed down. So it's one quirk for all people kind of thing. Like it'll get passed down, it'll get cultivated and moved on. I think it eventually gets more meanings as the show goes, but basis, that's it. It's one quirk that gets moved on and on and on for everybody.
Oh.
So Deku clearly accepts the quirk.
Yes. And he has to do is really. I remember I took a snapshot of the name of it, and it's like the American, like I think it's like American Dream Plan or something that they put him on.
Oh yeah. That I think
for success.
Your screenshot actually had the name of it.
Yeah, and so All Might draws up this plan because, like himself, the quirk cannot just take to anyone's body. And I think you have a slide for this later on. And so Deku needs to train himself so that he's not lean and obviously not strong enough to be able to handle punching and moving around like All Might does. Yeah. And so this one was pretty funny because they start out like this, which is a normal person wouldn't be able to drag a fridge anywhere.
With All Might on it?
Well, not with All Might on it, but he was just like, this is a comfy place to sit. And so it's comedic and very All Might.
This is actually before he gives them the plan.
Yeah.
This is because I have the name of the plan in my notes.
Oh, sorry.
No, it's all good because this is where we get the hey, and then he talks about he needs to train him to a proper vessel, as you were saying, and he tells them about that if he doesn't train him to get a proper vessel, this might happen if he uses the power.
He's blowing his limbs off.
Yeah, the power might be too much for him, and his limbs just might explode. So we learn about the Restore the Horizon challenge that All Might gives him. And then he says about right now, where they are on the beach that day, there's 10 months to train before the UA high school entrance exams. So 10 months. And he wants him to completely clear the beach of trash, which the name of the beach was actually funny. It was Dagobah Municipal Beach Park. I didn't realize it was Dagobah. And he gave him the aim to pass American Dream Plan.
I remembered.
You were right. You got it. And I think it's after he tells him all this, which is here, we get the montage, which is fantastic.
And then I also really liked it because he was talking about how a lot of heroes do all the flashy stuff nowadays where they all want to be on camera or they all want the commercial deals. And he's like, but what started with being a hero was community service and volunteering and actually making the world a better place for others. So cleaning up this beach because as Midoriya points out, it's full of trash because people put their illegal trash drops on the beach and they just kind of left it there.
Well, it starts that beach is where stuff just naturally washes up. So that's why people are like, well, if stuff naturally washes up there, I might as well throw my refrigerator there too. Because why not? It's full of trash anyway.
And then like the locals don't go there at all. I wouldn't either because of all the trash. So
yeah.
All Might says it's a place that's good for them to train and do good at the same time.
And it's also like because during the montage, I think I just got like 2 screenshots of the montage. We learn how good it is for training because it's not just working out one body part. It's like because he's doing so much stuff, he's working out like every aspect. And that American Dream plan wasn't just the workout stuff at the beach. It's also working out in class. It's eating a specific diet. It's going to sleep at specific times. It's like it's all encompassing, and it is made just for Deku. And Deku says, as the hero music kicks up, as the montage takes off, I need to work harder than anyone else because he's starting so much further behind. Just another mutter.
Yeah, this is just him thinking about it during class. And also adding more notes to his already set up plan, which they go into how he overworks himself a little bit, but he wants to get picked up faster on that too.
Yeah.
And here's All Might.
I have the scene of them going over how he overworks too much. So I was going to get to that one, but I forgot. I just threw this in here because it's hilarious. Because he's coaching him on the sideline. And then you see like all these girls behind him. And the next scene, it cuts around where he turns around and the girls are just like swooning over him. It's like, hey. Because he's All Might.
Just swimming. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, these are just some montage stuff. This is a great montage of these two training. I like that they're wearing the same jackets too, which reminded me of Naruto, Guy Sensei, and Rock Lee. Yeah, here you go. This is that moment. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, this is when he goes about being overworked, and he says overwork in English too, which made me laugh. And so
I didn't even notice.
Yeah, and he was like yelling at him, and he says the line that you were saying, that he has to work harder because he's starting so much farther behind everybody. And then he calls him a go-getter fanboy for it. And I was just like, oh.
But he says it in a way because he loves him for it. He's just like, as soon as he says that, because All Might is skinny All Might until this exact moment. Deku, like they're training, Deku's carrying that that microwave, whatever is behind him there in this picture. And Deku just collapses, like face plants into the ground, can't move. You know, I've been there when I've trained too hard, when I used to work out a lot. I clearly don't anymore. But like where you just, everything hurts, right? And you can't even like lift your arms. It hurts too much. And so All Might sees this and then recognizes the fact that he's working too hard. But then Deku says the thing where it's like he recognizes that he's too far behind. And the gleaming smile that hits All Might's face, it's just like wingtip hair to wingtip hair. It's just like gigantic. It's great. And he says he'll make him a new plan, like an updated plan for the go-getter fanboy.
There you go. And then, yes, the final day, and I think it's the morning before they go to their entrance exam.
It is that same morning. It's like 6 a.m. that morning. Yeah.
And All Might goes out there to check on him, and Deku's on a mountain of trash, cleared from the beach, just screaming because he's so excited that he finished everything that he believed he needed to do. And All Might recognizes that it was more than he ever asked for.
Yep. Because he went beyond the limits. Like he gave him limits. He's like, okay, this section. And Midoriya decided, no. Go beyond, clearly, and do more. So, and it's like, this was a powerful scene. The very first time I saw it, I was like, damn. Because he's also shredded, like, right? Yeah. Like, we don't see shredded Deku yet. Like, this is the first time. And it's like, dude, what? And like, we get like a close-up of him. Here's the clean outside of where I told him to. Seriously. Like, this kid is like, goodness. Yeah. Such a good reaction. I think he says, oh my. And then he yells, goodness, and he goes from skinny to big again. Yeah. It's such a good trope with All Might. It's like, I'm skinny, scrawny All Might, but I'll use my buff form for emphasis and effect. And it's great. We get a slow pan of Deku's like ridiculously toned body during this. It's funny. Like I wanted to somehow capture the whole thing, but I'm like, I would have to stitch together multiple screenshots because I literally stop at the top of his head or start at the top of his head and go all the way down to show off his like 8-pack abs or something.
Oh gosh.
Yeah.
probably just wrote yuck.
Well, I mean, I think that's exactly what. Oh no.
Yeah. But it's definitely cool because he has to get his DNA somehow. So it's pretty when he explains to him that he has to inherit it. That's a DNA thing, and he's like, "Well, it doesn't matter where it comes from. So here's a piece of my hair. You can eat this." But it's really cool because it's not just like, "Oh, I'm gonna touch you" or do some magic seance or anything like that.
Yeah.
It's a literal scientific way of him ingesting something to make him have the same quirk.
I mean, he could have licked sweat off of his finger or something like that too. But it's like I guess it's all disgusting, right? No matter what it is, it's going to be disgusting if it's like DNA. But eating your hair, it's just like I just think about like, I mean, I've definitely gotten hair caught in my mouth before, and I've eaten it, and it's like it's one of the worst feelings. Where it's just like it's in there, and you don't know what to do with it, and it's just like.
No.
Great thing All Might says during this ceremony. I believe he even references this as an award ceremony. So the award given is his hair, which, is the power of One for All. So it's better than any award, but it's disgusting. He's like, this is something I was once told. Something that you receive because you're lucky and something that you are given because you are recognized are different in essence. And so like that goes to the whole thing where Deku thinks that he's cheating by getting All Might's power. But All Might's like, no, you earned this. You worked for this. Like you've shown like you were worthy of this. It's like it's been almost an entire year of you training, getting your body ready, and going above and beyond multiple times. Like he collapsed from training too hard. He went and cleaned up more of the beach than he needed to. Like, All Might would have given him this power just for doing the bare minimum, I think, at that point. But across the board, Deku just kept wanting to up himself. And so All Might wanted to make sure that he knew that this wasn't like stolen power. This wasn't, something he got because he was lucky. He was giving this to him because he believed in him and he earned it. So this power you earned because of your own effort, he says, which I really liked. So, and that's it. We cut away from this, to the next scene. So, which is actually our first introduction at UA High, too.
Which is more Bakugo being mean, but not so mean. So this is the first time that you kind of really notice, and Deku notices it too, that he doesn't really acknowledge him. He says, "Get out of my way before, like, I'm going to kill you if you don't get out of my way," and then kind of walks by him. And he's like, he hasn't done anything since the whole sludge monster thing. Yeah. He hasn't really acknowledged my presence, which kind of says something to Bakugo's character too. And I think having seen him there at the entrance exam shows Bakugo that he's kind of serious and he wasn't just kidding about taking the test and trying. So it was kind of nice to see in this one part.
Yeah. I thought it was great. It was also great to like realize, and I had forgotten all the times I watched this, that like after that incident, Bakugo completely changed. And I think that has to do with, when he sees him after that sludge monster incident, he's looking side-eyed at him, and then he confronts him at his house or like outside right afterwards. It's like that changes Bakugo in a way where he stops treating Deku like this kid that can't do stuff just because he's quirkless. Like he starts to think about him differently. Not sure how he feels about him. I think in the scene to come, I think he even says he's upset that he doesn't get to smash him during the training exam or something like that.
He also says that I guess they're not going to let us be in the same place as our friends.
Bakugo doesn't say that.
Yes, he does.
Deku says that, I think.
No, I think it's Bakugo.
I don't think Bakugo says anything about the friend. I'm going to have to watch that one again. And we'll confirm next episode. But I'm pretty sure that's Izuku.
Say that.
Yeah. Well, because I think Izuku, like, the whole time, never not thought that Bakugo was still his friend. Even though Bakugo blows up his desk, blows up his notebook, he still, he loved Bakugo in a friend way. And, like, I don't know what he looked up to him. It's interesting. It's just like that's his way of being strong. He saw, I guess. But I think prior to this scene, I think Deku even says, like, this is my first step to being a hero. And then he trips over his own feet, which is great.
But it's a great introduction to, I can never get her name right. I think
Ochako Uraraka.
Eureka, yeah. And she is, I have two favorite female characters. She's one of them. And so this is exciting that they got to introduce her this way. And it was nice to see her again, even though I don't think they name her in this, do they? They just kind of have her kind of go.
I think the episode that comes after that isn't, for next time, is when we get her a little bit more.
But this interaction is very, very cute and it's very portraying of their relationship. So it's cute.
And it's one of the things I like about this show too, is the innocence of the kids a lot. And I think like this scene, I don't think Izuku says a single word to Ochako in this at all. But yet after this scene, he exclaims, he's like, I talked to a girl. And then there's like a caption that says, but he didn't say anything or actually like say a word, which is great because it's super innocent. It's like something that like, I think when I was like his age, like going into high school, I think I had a little bit more confidence in that, but like not that much. So it's very similar. But I loved that. I think that's the most success to her is like that gator mouth look, and then her like, isn't this great? It's so cute.
And I like that she like catches him before he falls on his face. It just really shows her own little character too.
Yeah. James is asking, if you eat more of All Might's hair, will you gain power, or will his blood offer more potent power? Speaking of blood eating, when does Best Girl show up? Not for a while. I know who you're referring to. She doesn't show up until second season.
It's when they go camping, so it's a while.
No, it's before that. It's after Stain.
Oh, that's right.
So it's the recruiting of that. But the All Might's power, all he needs is like an atom of his DNA, and if All Might wants him to have his power, he gets all of the power. Mm-hmm. So it doesn't matter if he eats All Might's left arm or he eats a strand of hair. It's the same amount of power.
Changer.
What?
That would have been like the one thing. It'd be a game changer. It'd be like, hey, you need me to eat my hand, and then we're gonna go from there.
It would be a different show. It would be a very different show. This is where we meet present Mike for the first time. And I just really wanted this screenshot because I forgot that they were sitting next to each other in the crowd. And they never mention it. They never say why. Like maybe it's because of the numbers, because President Mike does reference a character that is going to be introduced in a second as his number. So maybe he knows where all the numbers are sitting. And we do learn that they are within one number of each other. But it could also just be because they're friends. And it's cute. Also, super cute.
Yeah. I also realized too, for like later on foreshadowing, when President Mike does more appearances, the crowd usually yells and it's just silent for this season. And I'm like, oh, they're not even acknowledging him or his like presence, basically, except for Midoriya being excited. So it was almost like, it was awesome.
Yeah, President Mike. Every time he like tries to like cheer on the crowd, he basically does the "Come on, guys, you could do better than this," and then it's just like big words, silence over the audience.
I was like, oh no.
Yeah. So this is actually something I want to include this specifically because in the manga, this is one of the big differences between the manga and the anime, is the manga references video games a lot, and specific video games actually. Like they'll talk about Mario and they'll talk about Sonic and stuff like that. And I'm gonna guess they didn't put that in the anime because of rights and stuff like that, clearly. But they did get to add in very little bit of that reference in this one scene specifically, where they explain what's gonna happen. So I'll let you take it from here.
So they have their entrance exam, which is a lot different than just a test on paper, which I was trying to figure out how Deku was going to do Corpus to begin with, why they would even allow it to be that way. But they have villains, so I think 3 tiers of them, which are worth different points. which will be spread around there, and they have to basically beat each of these villains to get the most points, and the people with the most points are going to get into the better classes and pass the exam.
Yep.
Which gets us to the next person. Who was very angry and stood up because they mentioned 3 of the types of villains and not one of them. And this character is very studious and very, very on point with details. Yes, you got to be with the hands. And so he was very upset that such a prestigious school would miss something as important as having a flyer with 4 when there's going to only be 3 presented. And they go on to say that the last one isn't worth any points. It's just a worthless, like a dummy bad guy. And
it's an obstacle.
Yeah, they're supposed to run away from it more than anything else.
Which members in the crowd even say is like, oh, it's like an obstacle in a video game where you're supposed to just like run around or find a way around it. So,
yeah. But he also points out that Deku's like, is he muttering or talking the entire time? And it's distracting everybody from what they're there to do and how he's not taking anything seriously, which is like the total opposite of anything that Midoriya's ever done in his life, is not taking anything too seriously.
But also, I think like the muttering he's probably referring to is like him fanboying over President Mike, because he's just like, oh my God, it's President Mike. So it's not like, I mean, granted, I think he's just, Midoriya is overwhelmed. You know, we haven't learned a lot about Ida yet. This is Ida Tenya right here. I don't think we've learned his name. I think he's number 7111 at this point. And I only remember that because of the way how President Mike says ones is really funny. But Tenya here comes from a very specific background where maybe meeting the number 4 greatest hero, actually number 4 I think is Best Jeanist, number 5 greatest hero or something like that, isn't such a big deal to him. But to Midoriya, who, you know, is the biggest fanboy in this crowd, clearly, that is like, you know, meeting the biggest pop star if, you know, you're a big pop star fan kind of thing. So, yeah. I wish I got the next screenshot. I think next time for the next episode, I'll just screenshot everything. I wanted to get the one where because he turns around and stares at Deku, like dead-eyed, like stares him down, like, you in the back, you're muttering, you're not taking this seriously. It's like, it's great. Especially knowing what they become like later on.
Yeah, it's cute.
And Creation Odyssey says that they're very excited for his Nendo, and so am I. And I know you are too, Steph.
Yeah, I was very excited when I saw that it was announced finally.
I don't know why I have this as a screenshot. Oh, I think this is a missed screenshot of the next scene. This.
Oh, the motto for the school. So I did like that they had like the Napoleon quote on there. Where I wrote it down for a true hero is someone who overcomes life's misfortunes. So that was very true to Deku's whole path, I think. So the go beyond plus ultra, obviously, as he's put it in large letters, is a very big running theme through everything. And I think it's perfect phrase for everything. And
we see that a little bit with All Might in the past couple episodes. And we're starting to see it with Deku as well, that he just has it inherently. And it's one of the things that you'll learn. Everybody in the opening animation pretty much embodies it in a small way that it'll just kind of grow. So it's kind of great. You know, we get to learn. I completely forgot that they referenced Napoleon Bonaparte, and, you know, the fact that that's where the go beyond comes from. And then they added the plus ultra. And that's the big motto. So anybody who's watching this for the first time, the reason why on any pictures on Instagram you might see of My Hero, you'll just see people responding plus ultra. It's a popular hashtag. I believe it's even the name of one of the My Hero Academia like social channels is plus ultra. It's big. It's like their number one thing. Oh, I guess that's the final screen I have, but it's not the final scene.
No, it's them lined up, I believe, at the door, getting ready to go in and start their exam. Yep.
And Midoriya looking really nervous. Oh, that's why I tried to get that scene where he just slaps himself on the cheeks to get the nervousness out. But that's also when he slaps himself. That's when it goes to black, like on slap, it cuts to black. So I wanted to try to capture the slap, but I was like, it's too hard. So
All
there we
right.
go. That's the first 3 episodes. Oh, and the third episode, I think we forgot to put the name down again. Third episode was Roaring Muscles.
Yes, which okay.
I thought it was great because it's, most
It's
of the
him
episode is the training of Deku, and he needs the big muscles to, handle the power. So, any favorite moments from that episode?
I like the Ida moment. I like the introduction for that character. I think it actually surprised me because I don't remember him being in that early on, and so I was like, oh, so that was the moment that it was my top.
Ida's introduction and the hair eating.
Yeah, hair eating's gross.
Hair eating's fantastic, and I think that probably should be on everybody's top list. Other than that, for me, it's just the montage. I love. You give me a good montage, I'm there for it. Give me a good montage where Deku is carrying All Might around piggyback style. I'm there for it. So it's great. I loved it. I love we'll see more of this kind of stuff as time goes on because Deku never stops training. He definitely takes this he's from behind super seriously. So as he's in class, he's using the grip trainer to kind of just constantly train his forearms and his grip. It's great, and we'll continue to see that. So it's kind of awesome. You guys in the chat, any favorite moments from the third and final episode of this week's homework, I guess? And I first I was thinking because I had a couple of people reach out to me saying that I was watching 3 episodes, and then next thing I know, I watched the first 10 episodes, and I'm like, it's very easy to do that, and I get it, and I honestly we'll talk about maybe doing more than 3, but I think we have to change up our pace of going through the episodes maybe a little bit faster because we can't be here for 3 hours every Saturday night.
No.
2 hours is even more. I was thinking this was going to be an hour-long thing. Apologies for the first episode. We'll work out some kinks as time goes on. I think we'll get a little bit faster paced. I just caught up, and it's been so long since I've seen the first 3 episodes. That's that's one of my favorite things, Vash, about kind of rewatching this is you get to kind of relearn it after kind of going back and knowing stuff that happened. So if this is your first time watching it, that's great. But I think you're going to get way more if this is your second or third time rewatching it. Yeah. Creation Odyssey loves Ochako's intro. I love Ochako's intro too. It's fantastic.
She's a great character.
She's super just I don't know. She's super positive, and she's very much like Deku in a lot of ways, which I love seeing because we'll meet some bigger, larger than life characters in that class. People who clearly, I don't think it's a spoiler to say that Deku is going to get into UA. I'm going to go ahead and say that. So clearly he gets in. Clearly there's going to be other class members.
Yes.
And they're going to be ranging from all sorts of levels of confidence and personalities. And it's great that he has someone around his level and someone as amazing as Ochako. Who's one of my favorite Nendos I have because she's super sweet and adorable. Articulator loves the training montage. They did a good job of illustrating what it's like to be sticking out to a strict workout regimen. They most certainly did. It made me feel even grosser sitting on a couch eating ramen. I think I was eating while I was watching that. But hey, the ramen was delicious.
There you go.
Definitely a series I'll be rewatching. That's awesome, James. I'm glad to hear it. And what are you all drinking tonight? I definitely need something because my throat is completely dry. And I did have a kombucha that I was drinking to start, and that ended before we even finished the first episode. So, but yeah, Steph, I want to thank you. I want to thank everybody that joined us in the chat. I want to send a special shout out, thank you again to Fire Scorpio Photo on Instagram for creating our fantastic intro. Honestly, it's way more high budget than anything else about this show, so it's amazing that we could fool you all leading into it, and then it's just me and Steph in our respective homes talking about stuff. But honestly, during quarantine, what isn't this, right? So everybody have a good night, plus ultra. go beyond. That's really all I got for you.
Yeah. We'll talk. See you guys soon.
Yes. Have a good night, everybody. Bye-bye.